The Zanari people lived on a peaceful planet called Valara Prime. Their world was safe and calm. The sun was gentle and warm. The weather was always nice. They never had earthquakes or big storms. Life was easy for them. The Zanari looked different from humans. They were tall and thin. Their bones were hollow like bird bones. Their skin was so clear you could see the blue-green blood moving under it. Their eyes were large and silver. They were not strong, but they were very smart. For thousands of years, the Zanari lived in peace. They built beautiful cities. They made amazing art. They studied science and explored space. War was something they only read about in old books. Fighting was something only primitive species did. They believed all problems could be solved by talking and thinking. Commander Lyris was in charge of a space research ship called Harmony's Call. She was standing on the bridge looking at the big screens. What she saw made her afraid. Very afraid. A group of asteroids was coming toward their planet. These were not small rocks. They were huge pieces of stone and metal flying through space. Each one was big enough to destroy a city. There were hundreds of them. At first, the scientists thought the asteroids would miss the planet. They did all their math. They checked their numbers many times. Everything said Valara Prime was safe. But then something changed. Talon was the science officer on the ship. He looked at his computer screen and his hands started to shake. "Commander, we have a big problem," he said. His voice was scared. The asteroids changed direction. A gas giant planet pulled them with its gravity. Now they are coming straight at us. "How long do we have?" Lyris asked. She already knew the answer would be bad. 72 hours, Talon said quietly. 3 days, 3 days. That was all the time they had. 4 billion Zanari lived on Valara Prime. They had spaceships that could carry people away from the planet. But those ships were not made for emergencies. They were slow. They could only carry a few people at a time. Lyris did the math in her head. Even if every ship worked perfectly, they could only save about 10% of the population. That meant saving 400 million people. It also meant 4 billion people would die. She thought about her home city. She thought about the parks where children played. She thought about the libraries full of books. She thought about the concert halls where musicians performed. In 3 days, all of it would be gone. Turn to dust and fire. Send a distress call, Lyris ordered. Use every frequency we have. Contact the Galactic Council. Maybe someone can help us. She did not really believe anyone could help. The Galactic Council was good at many things. They were good at making rules. They were good at holding meetings. But they were not good at acting fast. By the time they decided what to do, Valara Prime would already be destroyed. Talon sent out the message. It went out in all directions into space. "Help us," the message said. "Our world is going to be destroyed. We need help now." Minutes passed, then an hour. Lyris watched the asteroids getting closer on the screen. Each minute that passed was one less minute to save her people. Then Talon looked up from his screen. "Commander, we got an answer. From the Council?" Lyris asked with hope in her voice. "No," Talon said slowly. "From the humans." Everyone on the bridge became very quiet. The humans. Everyone in the galaxy had heard stories about humans. They came from a planet called Earth. Earth was a death world. That was what everyone called it. Earth was covered mostly in water, deep dark water that went down for miles. The water had creatures with big teeth that could eat you. The land had huge storms that could flatten entire forests. The ground shook and split open. Mountains exploded with hot liquid rock. The weather could change from burning hot to freezing cold. Humans had to fight every day just to stay alive. They were predators, their eyes faced forward like hunters. They had teeth made for eating meat. They were strong and fast. They could run for hours without stopping. They could survive in almost any environment. Most species in the galaxy were afraid of humans. Humans had only been in space for 30 years. They were new. They were different. They were dangerous. Many people did not want them in the Galactic Council at all. "What does their message say?" Lyris asked. Her voice was steady, but her hearts were beating fast. Zanari had 2 hearts, and right now both of them were racing. Talon read the message slowly. "We hear you. Help is coming." Hold on, that was all. Just a few words. But those words changed everything. Someone was coming. Someone was going to try to help them. That someone was human. Should we accept their help? One of the other officers asked. Maybe it is a trick. Maybe they want to take over our planet. Lyris thought about this. It was true that humans were scary. But what choice did they have? In 3 days, everyone on Valara Prime would be dead. The humans might be dangerous, but the asteroids were definitely dangerous. Send a reply, Lyris said. Tell them we accept their help. Send them all our data about the asteroids. Everything we know. The information was sent. Now all they could do was wait. Wait and hope that the humans could do what seemed impossible. Hope that these Deathworld predators would save them instead of hurt them. Lyris looked at the screen again. The asteroids were still coming. In her mind, she could see them hitting her beautiful planet. She could see the explosions. She could see the fire and smoke. She could see her civilization ending, but now there was something else. There was a small piece of hope. The humans were coming. She did not know if they could save her world. She did not even know if they would try, but they said they were coming, and that was more than anyone else had offered. Lyris made an announcement to her crew. Everyone, listen to me. Help is on the way. The humans are coming. I know many of you are afraid of them. I am afraid too. But right now they are our only hope. We must trust them. We must work with them. Our world depends on it, the crew nodded. They were all scared. Scared of the asteroids, scared of the humans, but mostly scared of losing their home and everyone they loved. As the hours passed, they prepared for the humans to arrive. They gathered more data. They made plans for evacuation just in case, and they watched the asteroids coming closer and closer to their world. Somewhere in space, 3 human ships were racing toward them. Ships full of these scary predators from a death world. Ships full of creatures that most of the galaxy feared. But right now, those ships and the humans inside them were the only thing standing between the Zenari and total destruction. Lyris whispered a prayer to the old gods her people no longer really believed in. Please, she said quietly, please let the humans be our salvation and not our doom. Please let them save us. Then she stood up straight and turned to her crew. Get ready, she said. The humans will be here soon. And when they arrive, we need to be ready to help them in any way we can. Our survival depends on working together with them. The bridge crew went back to work. The waiting continued. And in the darkness of space, both danger and hope were racing toward Valara Prime. 18 hours after the distress call, the human ships arrived. 3 vessels dropped out of faster-than-light speed at the edge of the Valara system. The Zenari sensors picked them up immediately. Alarms started going off all over the monitoring stations. The human ships looked nothing like Zenari ships. Most civilized species built their ships to be smooth and beautiful. They made them energy efficient and light. They followed rules about what ships should look like. Human ships were different. They were thick and heavy. They had extra armor plating on the outside. They had backup systems for their backup systems. Everything was built to survive damage. These were ships made by people who expected bad things to happen. Ships made by people who lived on a world that was always trying to kill them. The lead ship was called Defiance. Its captain was a woman named Katie Brooks. When her face appeared on the communication screen, Lyris got her first real look at a human. Katie Brooks was short by human standards, only about 5.5 feet tall. She had dark hair pulled back tightly. Her eyes were blue, the color of Earth's oceans. Those eyes looked straight at Lyris, forward-facing eyes. Predator eyes. Eyes that tracked movement and calculated distance. But there was something else in those eyes, too. Something that surprised Lyris. There was kindness. There was determination. And there was no fear at all. Commander Lyris, Katie said. Her voice was firm and clear. We have looked at your data about the asteroids. We can help you, but we need to move fast and we need you to trust us. Can you do that? Lyris took a breath. Captain Brooks, we are very grateful that you came. But I must ask, what can you do? This is a natural disaster. These are huge asteroids. Our best scientists say there is no way to stop them. Katie smiled. To a Zenari, it looked like she was showing her teeth. It was frightening for a second. Then Lyris realized this was how humans showed happiness. Commander, Katie said, my people come from a planet that tries to kill us every single day. We have hurricanes that destroy cities. We have earthquakes that split the ground open. We have volcanoes that cover the land in fire. We have waves as tall as buildings that wash away everything. And you know what? We are still here. We learned how to fight back against nature itself. We are very good at dealing with rocks flying through space. Send us all your information, Katie continued. Everything about the asteroids, what they are made of, how fast they are going, how they are spinning, everything. We will take care of the rest. The Zanari sent all their data to the human ships. Within an hour, the 3 human vessels moved into new positions. They spread out in space, forming a triangle pattern around the incoming asteroid cluster. Lyris watched on her screens as the human ship Defiance opened its cargo bay. Small craft started pouring out, dozens of them. They looked like mining drones, the kind used for harvesting minerals from asteroids, but these were different. They were faster. They had more armor. And they carried something special. What are they doing? Talon asked, staring at his screen. Before Lyris could answer, a human appeared on their bridge. He came through the transport system. The Zanari crew jumped back in surprise. They had not expected a human to actually come aboard their ship. The human was shorter and wider than the Zanari. He had bronze-colored skin and dark eyes. His muscles were visible under his uniform. He looked strong enough to break things without trying. "Hello," the human said. "I am Lieutenant Jake Martinez. Captain Brooks sent me to help coordinate our efforts. Do not worry, I will try not to break anything. I know your ships are more delicate than ours." He said it with a friendly smile. Lyris realized he was trying to make a joke. Humans used humor even in serious situations. It was strange but somehow comforting. "Lieutenant Martinez," Lyris said, "please explain what your drones are doing." Jake walked over to the display screen like he belonged there. "We are going to blow up the asteroids," he said simply. "Well, not all of them. The big ones we will break into smaller pieces and push them off course. The smaller ones we will smash into dust. Your atmosphere will burn up the dust. No danger to your planet." "But the precision required," Talon protested. "One small mistake and the fragments could still hit us. The energy calculations alone would take days." Jake shrugged. His shoulders went up and down. Another human gesture. "We have done this before. Mining asteroids is what we do. We just usually do it to get metals and minerals. This time we are doing it to save a planet. Same skills, different goal." He pointed at the screen. "Watch. Our drones will drill into each asteroid. They will place explosive charges in exactly the right spots. Then boom, the rock breaks apart in a controlled way. We push the pieces where we want them to go." Lyris watched as the first drones reached the asteroids. They moved with incredible speed and accuracy. Each drone seemed to know exactly where to go. They attached themselves to the rotating rocks and started drilling immediately. The drilling was loud and violent. Pieces of rock flew off into space. The drones did not seem to care. They just kept working, going deeper and deeper into the asteroids. After drilling deep enough, each drone placed a package of explosives inside the hole. Then the drones flew away to safety. The whole process took less than 10 minutes per asteroid. "Are you ready?" Jake asked, looking at the Zanari crew. "This is going to be loud." The explosions happened all at once. Dozens of asteroids exploded in flashes of light. The sensors on Harmony's call went crazy trying to track all the fragments. When the light faded, the big asteroids were gone. In their place were hundreds of smaller pieces, all flying in new directions. Talon quickly ran the calculations. His hands were shaking, but his mind was sharp. "Commander," he said with amazement in his voice, "the new trajectories are perfect. All the large pieces will miss our planet. The small pieces will burn up in the atmosphere." "They did it, but they are not done yet," Jake said. "We still have more asteroids to deal with. This is going to take about 2 days of constant work." "2 days?" Lyris asked. "Your crew will need to rest, to eat, to sleep." "We will sleep when your planet is safe," Jake said firmly. "Right now we work, and they did work. For the next day and a half, the humans never stopped. They worked in shifts, but the ships never rested. Drones went out, came back, got refilled, and went out again. Explosions lit up space like fireworks." Lyris noticed something strange. The human crew seemed to get more energetic as time went on. While her own people were exhausted, running on medicine and pure fear, the humans seemed almost excited. They moved faster. They talked louder. They smiled more. She asked Jake about this. "Why are your people so energetic? Are they taking some kind of drug?" Jake laughed. "No drugs, Commander. Just adrenaline. When humans face danger, our bodies make a chemical called adrenaline. It makes us faster, stronger, and more alert. Our hearts beat faster. Our senses get sharper. We can ignore pain and tiredness. It is a survival mechanism from when we had to fight dangerous animals on Earth. Your bodies reward you for being in danger?" Lyris could not believe it. "Pretty much," Jake said with a grin. "We come from a death world, Commander. Danger is normal for us. Our bodies are designed for it. Lyris thought about this. The Zanari had evolved in safety. When they faced danger, their bodies wanted to hide. They got tired and scared. But humans were the opposite. Danger made them stronger. No wonder they had survived on such a harsh planet. By hour 48, the main threat was gone. The biggest asteroids had been destroyed or redirected. The smaller ones had been pulverized. According to all the calculations, Velara Prime was safe. On the planet below, billions of Zanari looked up at their sky. They saw the meteor showers created by the tiny fragments burning up in the atmosphere. They were beautiful, like shooting stars. No one was hurt. No cities were destroyed. They were safe. The humans had done it. These scary predators from a death world had saved them. Lyris felt tears in her eyes. She looked at Jake Martinez, this stocky human with his forward-facing eyes and his too many teeth, and she felt only gratitude. "Thank you," she said quietly. "You saved us all," Jake smiled. "That is what we do, Commander. We help people. That is what humanity is really about." But then Talon shouted from his station, "Commander, we have a problem." A big problem. And just when everyone thought they were safe, everything changed again. Everyone had been celebrating. The threat was over. The asteroids were destroyed or pushed away. Velara Prime was safe. The Zanari government was preparing to give the humans the highest awards their civilization had. People on the planet were dancing in the streets. Then Talon saw something on his screen that made his blood run cold. "Commander," he shouted, "Asteroid X-47 is breaking apart." Lyris ran to his station. "What do you mean, breaking apart? We already dealt with that one." Talon pointed at the screen with a shaking finger. The asteroid was not supposed to break, but the stress from the earlier explosions had weakened it. Now it was splitting into many pieces. Most of the pieces would still miss the planet. But 3 large fragments were on a direct path to the biggest city on Velara Prime. That city was home to 600 million Zanari. It was the capital. It was where the government buildings were, where the greatest libraries and museums stood, where families lived in tall towers of crystal and light. "How long?" Lyris asked. She already knew there was no good answer. 14 hours, Talon said. "Not enough time to evacuate the city. The fragments are too far away for our drones to reach them in time." Jake was already on his communication device talking to Captain Brooks. Within seconds, Katie's face appeared on the main screen. Her expression was serious but calm. "We see it," Katie said. "We have a solution, but you are not going to like it." "What solution?" Lyris asked desperately. "Anything. We will do anything. We are going to ram the asteroids with our ships," Katie said simply. The bridge went completely silent. "Ram the asteroids? Use their ships as weapons, ships with people inside them." "Captain Brooks, you cannot do that," Lyris said. Her voice was shaking. "Your crews will die. All of you will die." Katie shook her head. "Not all of us. Our ships have escape pods. We will evacuate most of the crew. Only a few people will stay behind to pilot the ships to the targets. And at the last second, even they will escape." "But your ships," Lyris protested. "They are your finest vessels. You cannot destroy them." Katie looked directly into the camera. "Commander, ships can be rebuilt. We have factories. We have resources. We can make new ships, but we cannot bring back 600 million people once they are dead. The choice is easy." She paused, then added, "Besides, our ships were built for exactly this kind of thing. We over-engineer everything. Our vessels can take more punishment than any other ships in the galaxy. If we hit those asteroids at full speed, we will destroy them. That is what our ships were designed to do. Survive anything. Even their own destruction." "I cannot ask you to do this," Lyris said softly. "You are not asking," Katie replied. "We are offering. This is what humans do. We face impossible situations. We make hard choices. We sacrifice for others. Not because we have to, because it is right." Over the next 2 hours, Lyris watched something she would never forget. She watched the human crews evacuate their ships with perfect organization. Everyone knew exactly what to do. There was no panic, no crying. No arguments. Small escape pods launched from all 3 ships. Each pod could hold 20 people. They came out one after another like seeds from a flower. The pods flew to a safe distance and waited. Captain Katie Brooks was the last person to leave Defiance. Jake told Lyris that this was human tradition. The captain always leaves last. It was a matter of honor. The second ship, Resilience, was captained by a quiet man named Ben Wright. He also evacuated his entire crew and set the autopilot to ram one of the asteroid fragments. But the third ship, Endurance, kept a small crew aboard. Its captain was a woman named Lisa Chen. She volunteered to pilot the ship manually. She said the autopilot might not be accurate enough. She wanted to make sure the asteroid was completely destroyed. "Captain Chen, you do not have to do this," Katie said over the communication channel. "The autopilot can handle it." Lisa's voice came back calm and steady. "I know, Katie, but this way I can make adjustments if needed. I can make sure we hit it perfectly. Do not worry. I have an escape pod right next to the bridge. I will eject at the last moment. I will be fine." Lyris could not look away from the screens. She watched the 3 human ships turn and accelerate. They were heading straight toward the asteroid fragments. Their engines burned brighter than stars. The mathematics were simple and terrible. The ships were heavy. They were moving very fast. When they hit the asteroids, all that energy would be released at once. The asteroids would shatter into dust. But so would the ships. Defiance reached its target first. The ship crashed into the asteroid at tremendous speed. For a moment, the explosion was so bright that all the sensors went white. When Lyris could see again, the asteroid was gone. Just a cloud of tiny particles that would burn up harmlessly in the atmosphere. The ship was gone too. Defiance, the proud vessel that had crossed the galaxy to help them, no longer existed. It had given its life to save a city. Seconds later, Resilience hit its target. Another flash of light. Another asteroid destroyed. Another ship gone forever. Now there was only Endurance and Lisa Chen. Everyone could hear the communications between Lisa and Katie. Lisa was adjusting the course, making small corrections. She was completely focused on her task. 5 seconds to impact, Lisa said. 4, 3. The angle is slightly off. Correcting now. "Almost there, Lisa, eject now." Katie shouted. "Wait," Lisa replied. "The correction is not complete. Just 1 more second, Lisa." "Please, got it," Lisa said. "Perfect angle." Ejecting now. A small escape pod burst from the side of Endurance. It flew away from the ship as fast as it could. 2 seconds later, Endurance hit the 3rd asteroid fragment. The explosion was enormous. The asteroid shattered into 1,000,000 pieces. All 3 threats were eliminated. The city was saved. 600 million lives were safe. On Valara Prime, people were cheering. They were crying with joy. They were hugging each other. They did not fully understand what had just happened. They just knew they were alive. But on Harmony's call, everyone was quiet. They had just watched 3 magnificent ships sacrifice themselves. They had watched humans risk everything to save people they did not even know. Jake was working at a console, trying to locate Lisa's escape pod. His face was tight with worry. The pod's beacon was weak. It had been damaged during the ejection. "Find her," Katie ordered. "Use every sensor we have. Find Captain Chen." Lyris watched Jake work. She watched Katie pace back and forth. She watched all the humans working desperately to find their friend. These predators from a death world cared so much about each other. They had saved billions of strangers. But right now they only cared about finding one of their own. It made Lyris understand something important. Humans were not just strong and brave. They were loyal. They protected their pack. Every single member mattered to them. "We will find her," Lyris said quietly to Jake. "We will use every resource we have. I promise you." Jake looked at her and nodded. "Thank you, Commander. That means a lot." And so began the search for Lisa Chen, the human who had cut it too close, who had stayed just a second too long to make sure her aim was perfect, who might have paid the ultimate price to save a city full of aliens she had never met. The search for Lisa Chen took 6 long hours. Her escape pod was drifting in the debris field from the destroyed asteroids. The beacon was very weak. It kept cutting in and out. Every time they thought they had found it, the signal would disappear. Jake Martinez led the rescue team personally. He would not let anyone else do it. Katie wanted to go, but Jake insisted she was needed to coordinate everything. So Katie stayed on the bridge while Jake took a small shuttle into the debris field. Lyris asked if she could go with them. The humans were surprised. The rescue shuttle was not designed for Zenari bodies. It would be cramped and uncomfortable. But Lyris said she needed to be there. These humans had given everything to save her people. The least she could do was witness their pain and their hope. They gave her a special support harness to protect her fragile bones in the low gravity. She had to crouch in the back of the shuttle, but she did not complain. She watched Jake and his team work. Humans were so focused when they worked. Their eyes never stopped scanning. Their hands never stopped moving. They checked every sensor reading 3 times. They investigated every possible signal. They did not give up. Finally, after 6 hours of searching, they found it. The escape pod was tumbling slowly through space, damaged but intact. Jake brought the shuttle alongside it very carefully. Another human used a mechanical arm to grab the pod and pull it into the shuttle's cargo bay. When they opened the pod, Lyris felt her heart sink. Lisa Chen was alive, but she was badly hurt. Her left arm was bent at a wrong angle. Her face was bruised. There was blood on her uniform. The pod's medical systems had kept her stable, but they were basic. They could not fix serious injuries. But when Lisa opened her eyes and saw her crew surrounding her, she smiled. It was a weak smile, but it was real. "Did we get them all?" she asked. Her voice was rough and quiet. "Every single one," Jake said. His voice was thick with emotion. "The city is safe. Everyone is safe." "You did it, Captain Good," Lisa whispered. Then she closed her eyes again. Good. They rushed her back to Harmony's call as fast as the shuttle could go. The medical bay was already prepared. Human doctors and Zanari doctors were waiting together. It was strange to see, predators and prey working side by side. But they had a common goal. They wanted to save Lisa Chen. The surgery took 8 hours. Human medicine was different from Zanari medicine. Humans healed faster because their bodies were used to injury, but they also needed different treatments. The doctors shared their knowledge and worked together. Finally, the head surgeon came out. She looked tired but satisfied. "Captain Chen will live," she announced. "Her arm is repaired. Her ribs are healing. The internal injuries are fixed. She will need time to recover, but she will be fine." Katie closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Jake put his hand on her shoulder. The other humans hugged each other. Lyris watched this and understood. This was a family, not by blood but by choice. They cared for each other as much as any family could. Over the next few days, the crisis truly ended. The asteroids were gone. The planet was safe. Beautiful meteor showers lit up the night sky as the tiny particles burned up in the atmosphere. Children made wishes on the shooting stars. They did not know those stars were actually pieces of the asteroids that almost killed them. The Zanari government wanted to hold ceremonies. They wanted to give the humans medals and awards. They wanted to make speeches and throw parties. But the humans asked for something different. They asked for time with their injured captain. They asked for time to mourn their lost ships. They asked for quiet. Lyris understood. Humans might be strong and brave, but they still felt pain. They still needed time to process what had happened. They had saved billions of lives, but they had also lost something important to them. One evening, Lyris found Katie standing alone in an observation room. The human captain was looking down at Valara Prime. The planet looked peaceful and beautiful from space. Cities glowed with soft light. Forests covered the continents. Oceans reflected the stars. "I do not understand your species," Lyris said quietly. She walked up to stand next to Katie. "You came here at great risk. You destroyed 3 of your finest ships. Captain Chen almost died, and yet you all act like this was the only choice." Like it was obvious, Katie was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. "Commander, my people have a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to win is for good people to do nothing. We use that idea for everything. Not just evil, but disasters, suffering, any situation where we can make a difference." She turned to look at Lyris. "Yes, we come from a harsh world. Yes, we are predators, but we are also pack animals, social creatures. We survived on Earth because we learned to protect each other. We learned that the group is more important than the individual. But we are not your pack," Lyris said. "We are strangers. We are not even the same species," Katie smiled. "That does not matter to us. When we joined the Galactic Council, many species were afraid of us. They saw our strength, our aggression, our refusal to give up. They thought we would be conquerors, warriors who would take what we wanted by force." She looked back at the planet. "But they missed the most important part of who we are. We are defenders. We run toward danger, not away from it. We sacrifice for others, not because we expect rewards, not because we want something in return. but because it is the right thing to do. Deathworlders, Lyra said softly. Yes, Katie agreed, but not because we bring death. Because we refuse to let death win. We fight against it with everything we have. Lyris thought about this for a long time. She thought about her own people. They had evolved in safety. When danger came, they hid. They calculated. They tried to think their way out of problems, but sometimes there was no time to think. Sometimes you had to act. Humans knew how to act. They had spent millions of years facing danger. It was in their blood, in their bones, in the way their brains worked. They saw a problem and they attacked it immediately. Over the following days, something unexpected started to happen. Young Zanari began asking questions about Earth. They wanted to know about human culture. They wanted to learn human languages. They wanted to attend human schools. Zanari scientists requested to visit human research facilities. They wanted to learn human methods. They wanted to understand how humans thought about problems. Diplomats proposed joint programs, cultural exchanges, trade agreements, military cooperation. Everything had changed. The humans who had been feared were now admired. The Deathworlders had brought salvation instead of destruction. Jake Martinez spent a lot of time with Talon. The science officer and the human lieutenant had become friends during the crisis. Now they ate meals together and talked about everything. Talon was fascinated by human food. He found it too spicy, but he kept trying it anyway. Your people evolved in safety, Jake explained one day. You never had to develop our instincts, our drive to overcome obstacles, our stubborn refusal to accept defeat. But now you are learning that those traits, while scary, are also valuable. So you are like guardians, Talon said, like the protectors in our old myths, the strong who defend the weak not for gain but because it is right. Jake grinned. Exactly. Though we prefer the word heroes. It sounds cooler. Talon laughed. It was a sound that Jake had never heard a Zanari make before. It was high and musical. It was the sound of joy. When Lisa Chen was finally well enough to receive visitors, half the Zanari government wanted to meet her. They wanted to thank her personally. They wanted to tell her she was a hero, but Lisa was embarrassed by all the attention. She said she was just doing her job. She said any human would have done the same thing. She did not understand why everyone was making such a big deal about it. That was when Lyris truly understood. For humans, this kind of courage was normal, expected. They did not think of themselves as heroes. They just thought they were doing what anyone should do. But they were wrong. This kind of courage was not normal. This kind of sacrifice was rare. This was something special. This was something the galaxy needed. And Lyris decided she would make sure everyone knew it. She would tell the Galactic Council. She would tell every species in the galaxy. The humans were not monsters to be feared. They were heroes to be celebrated. They were guardians who would protect anyone who needed help. The Deathworlders had come to Valara Prime, and they had brought salvation. 3 months passed after the asteroid crisis. Life on Valara Prime returned to normal. People went back to work. Children went back to school. The city that almost died was alive and thriving. But something had changed in the galaxy. News of what happened spread to every civilized world. Everyone heard about the humans who sacrificed their ships to save strangers. Everyone heard about Lisa Chen, who stayed at her post until the last second. Everyone heard about Katie Brooks and her crew who never hesitated to help. Other species started requesting human help. A planet called Tharsis Prime had terrible earthquakes. The ground was splitting open. Buildings were falling. The local government did not know what to do. They called the humans. The humans came. They brought equipment and knowledge from dealing with earthquakes on Earth. They showed the Tharsis people how to build stronger buildings, how to predict when the ground would shake, how to prepare and survive. They did not ask for payment. They just helped. Another world called Krell had a plague. A disease was killing people. Their doctors could not find a cure. They were desperate. They called the humans. The humans came. They brought medical knowledge from fighting countless diseases on Earth. They worked day and night in the laboratories. They found a cure in 2 weeks. Thousands of lives were saved. Again, they asked for nothing in return. A space station orbiting a star called Sigma Draconis was failing. The life support systems were breaking down. 3,000 people were going to die. They called the humans. The humans came. They fixed the systems. They taught the station engineers how to maintain everything properly. They made sure everyone was safe. And once more they left without asking for anything. 17 crises in 3 months. 17 times the humans responded. 17 times they saved lives and asked for nothing. The galaxy was beginning to understand. Humans were different. They were special. But not everyone was happy about this. Some species were still afraid. Some thought humans were too powerful, too dangerous. They worried about what would happen if humans ever decided to use their strength for conquest instead of helping. The biggest opposition came from a species called the Carthan. They were beings made of living crystal. They valued order and predictability above everything else. They did not like change. They did not trust new things. And they definitely did not trust humans. The Galactic Council was the government for this part of the galaxy. It had representatives from 400 different species. They met in a huge chamber on a neutral space station. They made laws. They settled disputes. They decided important matters. 3 months after Valara Prime was saved, the council held a special meeting. The topic was simple but controversial. Should humans be given full membership rights? Should they get a permanent seat on the Security Council? Should they be treated as equals to the oldest and most respected civilizations? The debate had been going on for hours. The Carthan representative, whose name translated to harmonious thought in stillness, argued against it. He spoke for a long time about how humans were too young, too aggressive, too unpredictable. He said giving them power would be dangerous. They have only been in space for 30 years, the Carthan said. His voice resonated like bells ringing. They are still learning to control their violent nature. We should wait. Watch them. Make sure they can be trusted before we give them such important responsibilities. Many delegates nodded in agreement. It seemed like the vote would go against humanity. Then Commander Lyris stood up to speak. She had been invited to give testimony about what happened at Valara Prime. Lyris walked to the center of the chamber. She looked small and fragile compared to some of the other species, but her voice was clear and strong. Honored delegates, she began. I speak not just as a representative of the Zanari people. I speak as someone who watched humans save my entire world. I speak as someone who saw what they are truly capable of. She paused and looked around the chamber. 3 months ago, my world faced certain destruction. Asteroids were going to hit our planet. 4 billion people were going to die. We sent out a distress call. Do you know what the Galactic Council did? The delegates shifted uncomfortably. They knew the answer. The council formed committees, Lyris continued. They filed reports. They scheduled meetings. They debated what resources could be spared. They talked about procedures and protocols. And while they talked, my people prepared to die. Her voice grew stronger. The humans did not form committees. They did not file reports. They came, 3 ships, 3 captains, hundreds of crew members. They worked for days without rest. They used methods we thought were impossible. They took risks we thought were insane. And when the situation got worse, they did not hesitate. They sacrificed their own ships, their own safety. To save us, murmurs spread through the chamber. Everyone had heard the story, but hearing it from Lyris made it more real. The Carthan speak of human aggression, Lyris said, turning to face the crystalline representative. Yes, humans are aggressive, but their aggression was directed at asteroids, at natural disasters, at death itself, not at us. They used their strength to protect, not to conquer. She looked back at the full council. The Carthan say humans are quick to violence. I say humans are quick to action. They do not waste time with endless meetings while people die. They see a problem and they fix it. That is not a weakness. That is a strength we desperately need. Since Valara Prime was saved, 17 other species have called for human help. 17 crises. 17 times the humans responded immediately. They did not ask what they would get in return. They did not demand payment. They just helped, because that is who they are. Lyris raised her hands in a gesture of conclusion. Yes, humans come from a death world. Yes, they are predators. Yes, they are dangerous. But they do not bring death. They bring salvation. They bring hope. They bring the promise that when darkness comes, someone will stand against it. Her voice rang out clearly. I vote to grant humanity full membership. I vote to recognize them not as a threat, but as allies. I vote to acknowledge what they have proven through their actions. They are not here to conquer us. They are here to protect us, and we should thank the stars that they are. The chamber fell silent. Then something happened that surprised everyone. One delegate stood up. Then another. Then another. Soon hundreds of delegates were standing, showing their support. The Beryllian ambassador stood. His insect-like body clicked and buzzed. The Andrillian delegate stood. Her crystalline voice chimed in agreement. Even species that had been cautious before were now standing in support of humanity. The Carthan representative remained seated. A handful of other conservative species stayed seated too, but they were now the minority. The tide had turned. The vote was called. The results came quickly. 312 votes in favor of humanity. 88 votes against. It was overwhelming. Humanity had won not just approval, but enthusiastic support. In the gallery above, watching the proceedings, sat Katie Brooks, Lisa Chen, Ben Wright, and Jake Martinez. They had not been allowed to speak at the meeting. They were just observers, but they were the reason for the meeting. Lisa gripped Katie's hand tightly. "We did it," she whispered. "They actually voted for us." Katie shook her head gently. "No, Lisa, we just did our job. They voted for us because they saw who we really are. They saw past the fear and the propaganda. They saw that we can be trusted." Jake leaned over and whispered, "So what happens now? Do we get medals and ceremonies?" Katie smiled. "Now we keep doing what we always do. We help people. The only difference is that now we have official permission." Ben, who had been quiet the whole time, finally spoke. "Do you think they really understand us? Do they know why we do this?" Katie looked down at the council chamber. "Some of them understand. Lyris understands. The Zanari understand, and more will learn. We do not do this for recognition. We do not do this for power. We do it because leaving people in danger when we could help them is not an option. It is against everything we are." Lisa nodded. "Earth made us this way. Every storm, every earthquake, every danger we faced. It taught us that we are stronger together, that we protect each other, that we never give up. And now we extend that to everyone. Not just humans. Everyone." As they watched the council begin to adjourn, Jake said quietly, "The galaxy is never going to be the same. They finally see us for who we really are, and who are we?" Lisa asked with a slight smile. Jake grinned. "We are humanity. We are the Deathworlders who bring salvation, and that is exactly what the galaxy needs." The evening after the vote, there was a celebration. It was not a formal diplomatic party with speeches and rules. It was something more personal, something more real. The humans who had saved Valara Prime were still in the system. They had stayed to help rebuild and to make sure everything was truly safe. Now they gathered with their Zanari friends in a large observation room that looked out at the stars. Human crew members and Zanari scientists mixed freely. There was no more fear, no more suspicion. Just friendship born from shared danger and mutual respect. Jake Martinez and Talon sat at a table playing a complicated Zanari game. It involved probability calculations and strategy. Jake was terrible at it, but he kept trying. Talon found this hilarious. He had never seen someone work so hard at something they were so bad at. "Why do you keep playing if you know you will lose?" Talon asked with amusement. Jake shrugged. "Because giving up is not what humans do. We keep trying until we get better. Besides, losing is just another way of learning." Talon thought about this. "Your species has a very strange relationship with failure. We see it as temporary," Jake explained. "Nothing is impossible. Some things just take longer than others, and every failure teaches us something new." Lisa Chen sat with a group of young Zanari who were asking her endless questions about Earth. They wanted to know everything. What did the oceans look like? How strong were the storms? What were the animals like? Lisa answered patiently. She told them about whales that were bigger than spaceships, about hurricanes with winds that could throw cars through the air, about lions and tigers and bears, about places so hot you could die in minutes or so cold you would freeze instantly. "And you evolved there?" one young Zanari asked with wonder. "How did you survive?" Lisa smiled. "We got smart. We worked together. We made tools. We learned to control fire and build shelter. We turned every disadvantage into an advantage. Earth tried to kill us for millions of years. It failed. And that failure made us strong." Katie Brooks stood at the window looking out at space. She was thinking about home, about Earth with its blue oceans and green continents, about the storms and earthquakes and all the dangers that made humans what they were. Lyris came to stand beside her. "What are you thinking about, Captain?" "Home," Katie said simply. "I am thinking about Earth, about how different it is from here. from everywhere else in the galaxy. Do you miss it? Lyris asked. Every day, Katie admitted. But I am also proud of what we are doing out here. Earth made us survivors. But we chose to be protectors. That choice is what defines us. Lyris was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. I have been thinking about what you said. About how you run toward danger instead of away from it. Most species in the galaxy run away. It is the smart thing to do. The logical thing. But you humans see danger and your first thought is, how can I stop this? Katie nodded. It is in our nature. We cannot help it. When we see someone in trouble, we have to help. It is like an instinct. We evolved that way because on Earth, if you did not help your neighbor today, no one would help you tomorrow. Cooperation was survival. And now you cooperate with everyone, Lyris said. Not just other humans. Every species. Everyone who needs help. Because to us, Katie said quietly, there is no difference between helping a human and helping a Zanari. Life is life. Suffering is suffering. If we can make a difference, we will. That is what being human means. Lyris felt her eyes getting wet. In her culture, tears were rare. But right now, she could not help it. These humans had saved her world. And they had done it without hesitation. Without asking for anything in return. They had risked and lost so much for strangers. Thank you, Lyris said softly. Thank you for saving us. Thank you for showing us what true courage looks like. Katie put her hand on Lyris's shoulder. It was a very human gesture. Physical contact to show support. Thank you for trusting us. For giving us a chance to prove what we really are. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Out there in the darkness were billions of worlds. Trillions of lives. And somewhere among them, someone was probably facing danger right now. Probably calling for help, and the humans would answer. They would always answer. Over the following weeks, things continued to change. Human technology started being shared with other species. Not weapons, not military tech, but medical knowledge, engineering techniques, disaster response protocols, things that saved lives. The Zanari built new schools that taught human methods alongside their own. They learned about human history, about the struggles and triumphs, about how humans had gone from living in caves to traveling between stars in just a few thousand years. Other species did the same. Human universities started accepting alien students. Human hospitals treated patients from dozens of different worlds. Human emergency response teams trained aliens in survival techniques. The humans gave freely. They asked for nothing. And in return, they received something more valuable than any payment. They received acceptance, respect, friendship. 6 months after the Valara incident, Katie Brooks received new orders. She was being promoted to admiral. She would command an entire fleet of ships dedicated to emergency response across the galaxy. The fleet would include not just human ships but vessels from other species too, all working together. Lisa Chen fully recovered from her injuries. She returned to active duty and was given command of a new ship. It was called Endurance 2, named after the vessel she had sacrificed. It was bigger and better than the original, built with help from Zanari engineers who wanted to honor her sacrifice. Jake Martinez decided to stay on Harmony's call. He became a permanent liaison between humans and Zanari. He and Talon continued their friendship. They wrote papers together about cross-species cooperation. They became famous for showing how different civilizations could learn from each other. Ben Wright took command of a mixed cruise ship, half human, half alien. They patrolled the outer regions of known space, helping anyone who needed it. Ben said it was the best assignment he ever had. The Galactic Council created a new position, Director of Emergency Response. The job was to coordinate rescue efforts across the galaxy. Everyone knew who should get the position. They offered it to Katie Brooks. Katie accepted, not for the power or the prestige, but because it meant she could help even more people. She could make sure that no world ever had to face disaster alone, that when danger came, help would always be on the way. Years passed. The story of Valara Prime became famous across the galaxy. It was taught in schools. It was made into movies and songs. Children grew up hearing about the brave humans who sacrificed everything to save strangers. But more importantly, it changed how species saw each other. They learned that differences did not have to mean conflict. That strength could be used to protect instead of dominate. The courage was not about being fearless. It was about being afraid and helping anyway. The humans had come from a death world. A planet that tried to kill them every single day. They had evolved to be tough, strong, aggressive, all the things that made other species fear them. But they had also evolved to be cooperative, loyal, protective, all the things that made them heroes. When aliens faced peril, Deathworlders brought salvation, not because they had to, not because they expected rewards, but because it was who they were. It was in their bones, in their blood, in their hearts. Earth had tried to kill humanity for millions of years. It had thrown everything at them: storms, earthquakes, predators, disease, starvation, cold, heat, every danger imaginable. But humanity survived. More than survived, they thrived. And in the process, they learned the most important lesson of all. That life was precious, that protecting others was worth any sacrifice, that when you had the power to help, you had the responsibility to act. The galaxy had feared the Deathworlders. Now they thanked the stars for them. Because when darkness came, when danger threatened, when death approached, the humans would be there, always ready, always willing, always fighting to protect those who could not protect themselves. That was what it meant to be human. That was what it meant to come from Earth. That was what it meant to be a Deathworlder, not bringing death, but bringing life, bringing hope, bringing salvation, and the universe was better for it.